Alright, what's good YouTube? Welcome back to another video. So this is Max here. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, leave a like down below. As y'all can see on my 5 combines right here, I made $1,389 per. So we're extremely close to getting these passed. Really sucks I had to close these early today. I ended up closing my position pretty sure like right there for a 1 to 3 risk to reward. I'm going to be going over this trade today. I would give this trade, honestly, I want to give it an A rating. I'm not giving it an A plus because low-key the SMT wasn't that great. But everything else about this trade was really, really nice. I'm going to break it down real quick. It was a super simple, easy trade. Felt super confident taking it. It was my bread and butter setup, which is, of course, M15 continuation model to a draw. The only thing I didn't like about this setup was the fact that the SMT was super weak. Also, the target, we were targeting the unfilled 1 hour, and we already took out London highs. So those are the things that don't make it A+, but I really constitute the setup as a setup. Let me break it down. So first things off the bat, we're starting the 4 hour. Obviously, right, going into the day, price started here. Bro, I didn't expect us to rip all the way to NWOG, which was fucking crazy. We can see the whole day ended up just absolutely pumping. I have no FOMO from this move at all. I took my profits, took my trade, hopped off. But basically, even going into this morning, right, I still didn't expect us to go all the way to NWOG because NWOG was like 250 points away. So my draw, like for the week, was NWOG. Now that being said, right, my draw for the day was slightly different. My draw for the day was just the unfilled 1 hour, and then my overall bias was towards the NWOG. So I overall had a bullish bias. We can also see leading into the NWOG, I think this was like Sunday night or something, we had a failure swing, and this was yesterday. Was it? This was like Monday or something. We had another failure swing to the NWOG. So leading into the NWOG, we had low resistance built up, and at our stop loss down here, we had high resistance, meaning we continued to sweep out lows. So that gave me even more probable cause that the NWOG was our prominent draw for the day. And then looking at the 4 hour, all the way here on the left, we had this unmitigated 4 hour bullish for Valley Gap, which overnight price went, tapped the CE of the wick, or CE of the fair Valley Gap, so 50% mark, and had a very, very nice move towards the upside. So that gave me also an additional bullish bias into the day. If we drop down to the 1 hour time frame, we also had an AMD form. So I'll move it like this real quick. Where do I find this tool? Yeah, so basically we had an accumulation during London and pre-market. Then right here, pre-market, we came down, had a manipulation below these lows right here. And then pre-market, right before market opened, a distribution like this towards the upside. So some leading confluences is the fact that we're having basically an AMD model and accumulation manipulation distribution form inside a 4 hour fair value gap with failure swings above with a new week opening gap as our overall daily bullish bias. I was really confident that we would go to at least the unfilled 1 hour. Now we went to the NWOG, which is hella rare. I guess maybe Trump said some shit that made people or made the market pump, but all I was looking for was for my bread and butter setup, and that's what I got today. So we can see here, breaking down the setup, right, our target was that unfilled 1 hour bearish Valley Gap, which is protecting the NWOG, and into market open, which is right around here. That is the only other target that we could draw towards. We did have this 1 hour bearish Valley Gap right there, but that was already filled. We already tapped into it, already met the objective, which was these lows, already used that as the AMD mover. So I wasn't really paying attention to that gap anymore. That was already mitigated, already met the objective. Now I'm just focused on the new unfilled 1 hour above and these failure swings. Going into this, we can see right here, 6 a.m., market formed that 15-minute candle. Then 6:15 opens right here, forms that 15-minute gap. Another thing to keep in mind is this gap had a high probability of being hit since it wasn't a breakaway gap. What I mean by that is this secondary candle that formed the 15-minute fair value gap basically didn't close like super strong all the way up there. We had a closure right around the previous closure level. So that really showed me that off the open, there's a high probability we're going to tap into the gap. Now, just because we have a 50-minute fair value gap doesn't mean you long it off the bat, because there was a couple times where you could have gone caught up in longs, which I'm going to talk about right here. The first area where you could have got caught up in longs is right at market open, right at 6:30. So right at 6:30, we actually put in SMT at the lows. You can see NQ swept out that low, and ES didn't. So if you were to just take this candle as your confirmation, this was a super weak confirmation, as into the leg leading down into the 50-minute, we had multiple 1-minute gaps defending the highs. So at this current point, I saw, right, we tapped into the 50-minute. We had a nice SMT. If price is to go ahead in the next 2 minutes and inverse both of these 1-minute fair value gaps, I'll actually take an entry to the highs. We can see that setup ended up failing. And right after that occurred, we tapped into that 1 minute and then dumped to the downside, breaking that SMT sort of, putting in still like a new SMT. So as like we continue to go lower, we're still kind of holding this overall higher time frame SMT, but at the same time, it's not like we're creating new ones. So then price chops around for a little bit. We then have a stop hunt of these lows right there. Then after the stop hunt of these lows, price then attempts to go higher. So I've seen a couple people take this entry. The reason why I didn't like that entry is because at the current time of this candle at 6:37, we were actually still in a very small, but it was there, 2-minute bearish value gap like that. So in order for me to take an entry on this candle, what I would need to see is that 2-minute get inversed. And if you look on the 1 minute, this candle that you're taking, right, hasn't closed above the 2 minute. We're kind of respecting it right now. So that was a bad entry right there. We then had this candle which went up, almost tapped the 3 minute right here, which was the highest time frame in the leg of gap wise. We almost tapped the 3 minute, right? Then we came back down, closed below on the 2 minute. Had a super weak close. So from there, I was like, all right, low key, we either inverse the 3 or I'm not taking a trade. Or I meant we're either inverse the 3 or we have an addition. At this point, I was like, all right, either we come up, inverse the 3 minute, I'll take a trade, or we have an additional stop hunt, which then gives another entry. And that's exactly what occurred, right? We did not tap the 3 minute, which left that as a perfect point to go break even, basically for a additional stop hunt trade. Price comes down, has a inversion of this gap right here. You would not short this due to the fact that we're still within a 15-minute bullish value gap, so that wouldn't make sense to short. Price comes down, has an internal sweep once again, this bearish candle. Boom, we bottom out right here. Then we get one candle. We almost closed above, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we almost closed above on this candle, but then we didn't. And the next candle forms, right? We can see there's a small volume imbalance, which that shows us also that a lot of buyers stepped in at this current point, right? Which is that small gap in price, a lot of volume. Then this candle, boom, shoots above, obviously inversing that 1 minute bearish value gap, which was right there. So from that current point, I took my entry with 2 minis, put my stop loss at the bottom of the first candle's displacement. And then I basically was just targeting the consistency rule, which was like right around there. So I was targeting the consistency rule on this trade. I'll go for my management now. So then price goes up, pulls back down, one bullish candle. We look really nice. We then tap into this 3 minute gap right here. So the only thing that's defending, right, the only reason that price from this point would go lower is us tapping into a 3 minute and rejecting. So with that bearish for value gap being the only thing in bearish order flow that would prevent us from going higher, I ended up going break even right at that current point right there. You can see price and pulled back. Right here, I was like, all right, we're probably just going to go break even. And then we ended up actually going higher, delivering. And then in this whole delivery phase, if I go to a 30-second, it was low-key slow movement. Like, it was like a slow chop, slow build-up. It wasn't like fast delivery, which is what I usually like. So I would say I wasn't like fearful, but I was at the same time, I was like, all right, I'm low-key looking to get out of this. And then the reason why I actually closed early before, right, we hit the consistency rule on my accounts is because of, once again, our target, right, or my target for this trade was this unfilled 1 hour bearish for value gap. Same thing on ES, that unfilled 1 hour bearish for value gap. And we can see on the 1 minute here, pulling up ES. So right when we basically sweep the internal high on NQ, which low-key is a also good area to sell, which honestly, yeah, this is low-key the safest take profit you could have. Of course, going to the unfilled one gives you an extra 1 hour risk reward, but based on the way we're kind of moving, it's not the cleanest price action in general. The SMT isn't the greatest. This would have been a really optimal place to have to take profit out. But once again, I was going for the consistency rule, which is like right above here. So as we begin to break above right here, price also taps into the unfilled 1 hour. And at the current point, I think it was on the 30-second. I'll pull it up. Yeah, you can see on this candle, basically we like go higher. Quite literally, my consistency rule was like right there for 1500. And we like go up, we like edge it like literally like that. We edge it like that, and we wick down. And I was like, fuck, bro, like we already swept the internal. Like, ES just tapped into that unfilled 1 hour gap. Like, am I really gonna like take a break even trade over like $2? I was like willing to take a delivery right off the bat. So I was like, man, fuck it. Like, I already trailed like right there. I was like, I'm just gonna close. So I closed, boom, right there, 74 points. Obviously in hindsight, it ran all the way to the unfilled one, but I was just playing the cards I was dealt. You can see this delivery was kind of shit. I mean, it wasn't shit, but it wasn't the best delivery in the world. It's not like we just went like bang, bang, like these candles continuous bang, bang. We kind of like started to slow down a bit in the delivery. So I didn't like that. I just looked to get out at the consistency. So tomorrow, I'm just going to try to farm a winning day. I'm going to try my best. I really hate farming winning days. Even when I get back onto the exit phase stage, like I'm low-key not going to even be going for winning days anymore. Just because it's like, it's high risk for what it is. Like you're basically breaking, quote unquote, breaking your trading plan to try to get like $200 of profits. And if you end up red on the day, it's like, it's just something, it's not a good feeling. Like I want just every day to just be super consistent in my approach. Every day just to execute my strategy, not have to worry about catching winning days. And if that just means I risk more on my setups, that's perfectly fine. But I'm low-key against going for winning days. I just feel like there's too much margin of error. There's opportunity to blow accounts going for winning days. It's just one of the ways that the prop firms try to get at you. So going into tomorrow, I'm gonna honestly try to just go super low risk on a nice setup. Even though I hate doing that, I really don't want to farm a winning day. But if there's like for example, let's say price is moving up and we're like fucking couple points from a draw, I might just throw on a couple micros, see if it works. But yeah, this is my trade today. A plus executions on my end. Felt super confident. Pulled the trigger, no hesitation, no prom. Super patient in my entry. I didn't fuck around right in this price action. Take an early stab. Stayed super disciplined in my approach. Took my profits at the perfect time. Was super conservative with my management of my trade. Was a really good trade overall. After this, I hopped off for the day. Also, as you can see, there's a daily trade limit. My daily trade limit's at 2 trades, but I accidentally placed on 1 micro instead of an NQ when buying in, so that's why I hit two of my trades. But yeah, this was the trade today, boys. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Right, if you're really learning something from these trade recaps, always would appreciate the support if you leave a like. I posted a trade recap yesterday, I'm pretty sure, on how I didn't take a trade or how I almost did, but fucking Drake moved into the market. if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, this was solid executions. We can see price ran all the way to the NWAG. So going into tomorrow, I might lean more on the bearish side, especially looking at how this candle is forming. We have a large wick. We might be running these lows, which would be a weekly profile internal sweep, which would be super nice. Maybe tap into this unfilled daily. So overall, I'm bearish. Now going into tomorrow, also I'm not going to target the NWAG again because it's now a weaker drawn liquidity. We already filled it. We already sweeped out these failure swings. So really there's no reason for price to go higher unless we have a large move overnight. And if we want to go higher, we'll go to like this 4-hour unfilled. But I'm not going to target an NWAG fill. I've just never seen that play out nice in back testing in live markets. So leaning bearish into tomorrow. Also, ES already inverse all the stuff. ES looks pretty bearish. We can still run to the, the NWAG on ES, but I think these lows look juicy based on the way we closed today. So, yeah, if we really wanted the NWAG on ES, I think we would have gone higher and then shopped around, but instead we had a very large dump to the downside. So that's what I'm thinking into tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, just staying super consistent in my trading. Bought a journal this trade right now as a fat W in the journal. My main concern with trading is my main thought process these days is just to follow my strategy every single day to the T, zero deviation. So the fact that I might have to farm a winning day tomorrow really is something I'm not exactly comfortable with. So I'll have to figure something out, but yeah, like that's just something I'm not comfortable with doing. But yeah, overall W ass day, boys. W trade, W executions, W patience, W market, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.